Over the past month, I've had the honor to lead services to celebrate the lives of 3 people who had an impact on this congregation: Don Williams, Kathy Lyon, and Claire Horn. All 3 of these individuals fully embrace being a part of this congregation, from stepping into leadership, creating rituals for our youth, helping out at the front desk, to so much more. All 3 also knew what it meant to find friendship and connection here at First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. This congregation's foundation is built on people coming together to create opportunities and community for each other. We continue to see this foundation sustained each time we walk in the doors and look around and see what's happening. Not only do we have the foundation of being committed to this congregation, but we also have a rich history of how leaders and ministers of this church have impacted the civic arena, both at the city and state levels. We know this from Reverend Dr. John Buren's book, A Religious Sinner with a Civic Circumference. We know the impact Reverend Starr King had on the state of California, joining the Union. We know this church survived a major earthquake and fire that swept through San Francisco, and because of that, this church still gets calls for records of births and weddings. We know the leaders in the congregation led efforts not once, not twice, multiple times to end corruption in the governance of the city of San Francisco. We also know this foundation continues to be sustained by our partnerships through the Interfaith Council, which Reverend Vanessa Rush Southern, our senior minister, chairs. We continue this work through the work of our human rights and women's rights groups. We have a strong and rich foundation of people connecting, of people supporting, and of people creating a community to be proud of, both within our walls and outside our walls. I invite you to think about that community and history. Pick a person or event or a historical moment of this church that you find especially foundational. And if you're still learning about this community or just walking in the doors this morning for the first time, think of who has been foundational in your life in creating community and connection. I forgot to warn you, this sermon is interactive. So if you are so inclined, I encourage you to turn to those around you and share what you just thought of. If you're online, share them in the chat. And if you want to sit quietly and reflect, then that is welcome too. So what have you thought of? Share with each other. These stories and people are the foundation of this community. Hold on to them. Know that you are standing on their shoulders today. This congregation also has a history of being resilient. There have been unhealthy ministries, strife among members, staff turnovers, building repairs, go on and on and on. Over the past 7 years, the Reverend Vanessa has been here. The congregation has worked on articulating a mission, a vision, and creating a strategic plan, only for those efforts to be put on hold as the community weathered through a pandemic. Staff were stretched thin. Christmas Eve services had to be canceled. People got sick and continue to get sick. Children and families were at their wits' end. The years of the pandemic were difficult, and this congregation made it through. It took us a year after we opened our doors to build up almost back to pre-pandemic activity with rentals and church events. And we are currently thriving. There is hardly a day when you walk through the doors anymore that something is not happening, from choir practice to meditation groups to winter shelter to bar mitzvahs to so much more. I am currently trying to keep up with the staffing needs of our preschool and nursery classroom. That classroom is booming. We regularly have 7 little ones in there. That means 3 staff people. And if every one of those showed up, I don't want to think about that. We have hired a new membership and young adult manager, Emma Wakeling, who will increase our ability to connect with all the people who are coming in our doors regularly. We are receiving between 3 and 8 connection cards every week. 3 and 8. We have over 1,100 YouTube subscribers, and we gain more each week. We have created a congregational covenant that names how we want to be together. We are naming harm and stepping into relationships to find new ways of being together. We have a phenomenal staff. I can't tell you the extreme honor and blessing it is to work with all who make this congregation. It is week after week after week. From our senior minister, Reverend Vanessa, who returns in 8 days, not that I'm counting. 8 days, people. To our director of operations, Laura Ludwig, our communications director, Jonathan Silk, music director, Mark Sumner, organist, Rachel Lane, all of our musicians and soloists, facilities manager, Dan Bernard, reservations manager, Susanna Bernhola, religious education coordinator, ministerial assistant, administrative assistant, Alicia Cover, bookkeeper, Jody Strachan, our sextons, Thomas, Robert, Remigio, Matthias, Kelvin, and Francisco, to our religious education staff, Bernasia Cates, Connor Shennum, and Sharu Sharma. Our staff is strong and united, as well as gifted and committed professionals. And we have a new ministerial intern joining us next year, Kate Steinberg. We have so much to be excited and thankful for about in our community. What are you excited about? What are you thinking about this next year? What's something that you've been thinking and bubbling about in your mind? Yes, I'm going to ask you to interact again. So if you want to, turn to each other and share what you're excited about in this next year. If you're online, put it in the chat, and you also can sit quietly. As Sherry and Jack said, you hear the hum? You hear the hum? I hear the hum. I hear the hum. We have so much to be excited about and thankful for in our community. Before she went on sabbatical, Reverend Vanessa wrote up some thoughts on how we can engage this excitement in the upcoming year, and I want to share those with you. She states, quote, "So now our job, equipped and unified and inspired as we are, is to live our universalism with its vision of a love that animates a world that we should be animated by, that always draws its circle wider and wider. We need to model that in the world as a community and what we offer our community. Our challenge will be to be as creative, even experimental, as we move forward to figure out how do we serve with love, reason, a commitment to justice making, and holding one another through this life. Making meaning. How do we do this in ways that serve the newest generation of seekers and servers? Our Fund in Need, Arts Fund, and the team that will figure out how to make use of it will begin to look at ways the arts can serve to do our meaning making that is invitational to those who might find a home with us. And we need all of you to think of other ways to do that. Affiliated UUSF Community Minister, the Reverend Shennum Fong, with his full-time commitment, which that's just changed. He's just changed it to a full-time commitment to the San Francisco Contemplarium ministry, will invite us to be part of that re-envisioning of religious life. Our task is to continue to nurture the strength and take advantage of this time of momentum and traction to build a more and more robust, alive, visionary community and help our members participate in this commitment." End quote. Now is our time to build, to take what we know from our friendships, our connections, our foundation, and resilience to grow our community, where we can be a beacon of hope to others, where we can come to find a friend, they can come to find a friend who will stand by their side in their growth, in their sorrows, and in their celebrations. Did you hear what Sherry and Jack said? We just started this campaign. We're already at 181,000. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I don't think you heard that. That's something to be excited about. People are already committing. And as we launch our pledge drive for the operating budget in the next year, think of what you're excited about, what you're committed to, and how you want this congregation to grow. Then make the pledge that inspires you in that vision. Think about what others shared with you this morning and about what they're excited about, and make a pledge that inspires you to create the vision they want to build. It will take all of us to build these visions. And I can borrow a line from the song, You've Got a Friend in Me. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together and can see it through, 'cause okay, we need a little more enthusiasm. All right, ready? Because there we go. May it be so. May it be so.